talk about the rooks, or the castle. The name was changed. They look like a castle, and they were called a castle for the long time, but they're called a rook now. I don't know why exactly the name was changed. I don't even know what a rook is, but they're called a rook. But it's okay if you call them a castle. So here, let's talk about the rooks. Are really easy, and here's what they do. They have the ability to move any number of spaces as long as they stay on ranks and files. What that means is this one, if it's right here, can only move however many spaces it wants. It can move to here, or to here, or to here, or to here, or go all the way across and capture that piece. Or it can go all the way across here. So it moves along ranks and files. That's what it can do. So in one turn, it can move however many spaces it wants. If it's right here, it can go here, anywhere along there, anywhere along there. That's how the castle moves. All right, the next piece we want to look at is the bishop. The bishop is very similar to the castle, but instead of moving straight, it moves only on the diagonal. So this piece, this bishop, as long as notice how it's on the white square, it's always going to stay on white squares. So it can move from there to there, or from there to there, or from there to there. A bishop that's on a white square will always stay on the white squares. It will never move off of it. And the other bishop will always stay on the black squares. He will always stay there. And he can move any number of distances, or any number of spaces that he wants. So that's how the bishop moves. The next piece to consider is the queen. The queen is the most powerful piece because it's basically a combination of the castle and the bishop. The queen can move any number of spaces straight ahead on the ranks and the files, but it can also move any number of spaces diagonally. So in any one turn, the queen can move to there or to there. Now, hopefully that makes sense. I haven't over-explained it, but the more you play it, you'll get used to how the pieces move. But that's the basic rule of the queen. It's a combination of the castle and the bishop, and it can move in straight lines or in diagonal lines. Now the king. The king is just like the queen, only it can only move one space at a time. It can go straight and move along straight lines, but it can only go one space at a time. One turn, another turn, another turn. It can only go one space at a time, but it can go either diagonally or straight. But essentially, you don't really want to be moving the king around too much anyways. It's generally going to spend most of the time in a tucked away corner with the other pieces trying to protect it. But the king, when you do have to move it, only moves one space at a time. Now the last piece to consider is the horse or the knight. I really like the knight. It's a fun piece to play with. It's a little, for beginners, it might be a little bit complicated to get how it moves, but let me see if I can explain this in a way that will make sense to you. It's explained lots of different ways, but what makes sense to me is that the knight moves in an L shape. If you look at the squares on this board, if you have 2 here and 3 here, it kind of looks like an L. In any L that way or backwards L, however you want to look at it. So he moves in an L shape. So anytime the horse moves, it's going to go 2 spaces and 1 in any direction. So he can either go 2 and 1, 2 and 1, or it could move like this, even though it doesn't make a difference. 1 and 2. Or he can go here, 1 and 2. So if the horse is right here, all the spaces that he can go to right here. He can go to right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, and right here. Those are all the spaces that it can move to. Now, the other neat thing about the horse is it is the only piece that can jump over another piece. All the other pieces can't jump, but the horse can. So in other words, if you look at all these pieces back here, the horse is the only one that can go like that. The bishop, the queen, the king, the castles, they're all stuck behind the pawns, but the horse can jump over them like I just showed you. He's the only piece that can do that. All the other ones have to wait for a pawn to move before they can move out. It's really a special piece. It's not like any other piece, and it can jump over all the others. And it's really a tricky piece to watch. It's a fun one to work with because it sneaks around things. So that's how the horse moves.